Thanks, Emma, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session on new style clubs. Um, the interesting thing is, I just don't want to limit it to new clubs. It's also about you thinking about your own club, about changing and revitalising your current club in terms of maybe even the model that you're adopting. So we're going to look at from both aspects. So it's not just we've obviously got to focus. And as DG Emma mentioned, I've got a long title. I'm the District New Club Growth and Development Chair, which wraps around on a badge. I can tell you it's. So we've got 45 minutes. The way I would like to structure, I've actually got no slides, but I'm happy. There's lots of materials, and I'll reference if you are interested. There's plenty of materials on new clubs available on the website. I'm going to start off with a short RI video called Anytown. Some of you may have seen this, but I want you to imagine that Anytown is your town where your club is, and have a look at it and see whether you have some of the similar issues in terms of attracting members. I'm then going to talk a little bit about how we go about creating new clubs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the types of new clubs and the process for establishing them. So some of the rules in terms of how many members you need, etc., etc. Again, this is all around membership. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we've come in our zone about membership. Membership hasn't been a strong point for our zone over the last few years, but hopefully if we focus on some of these new aspects of creating new clubs, we might be able to change that. The last piece, I'm also going to do a short Q&A with my wife, Leanne, who's in the same club as I am, obviously. Leanne was one of, and I know Marie's here as well. We have two satellite clubs in our district, which were chartered last year. I think I interviewed Marie last year. I'm going to interview Leanne this time about what, so some of the questions about how you go about looking for the need of creating a satellite, how you go about creating a satellite club. So that's where we're going. That's where I'm going to basically head. So let me first start off with the video. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. I hope this works. Should be able to, can everybody see that?
As Rotary, we often ask ourselves, how do we grow personally, professionally, and organizationally? The answer is simple. To grow Rotary, we need more Rotary clubs. Let's use Anytown as an example. Anytown is a city of 100,000 people and home to one proud Rotary club. But there are hundreds of other people of action, just like us, who are uniquely qualified to become Rotary members. They share the same drive and represent the values and fundamentals of a Rotary member. So why aren't they members? Well, the current club meets on Monday. There are leaders in Anytown who can't meet on a Monday. By excluding this segment, the potential members in Anytown has shrunk. Now consider, what if the meeting is at noon on Monday? There are people who can meet on Monday, but can't meet at noon. So now we have a smaller audience for Rotary in Anytown. Of the remaining group, some aren't interested in a club with a sit-down lunch and speakers. They are passionate about service, but aren't interested in a traditional club experience. And that is okay. The Rotary Club of Anytown isn't doing anything wrong. It just doesn't appeal to particular segments of the community. And if we're going to thrive for years to come, we must adapt and embrace change. In Anytown, we have an opportunity to expand because potential members are everywhere. More than half of the eligible people are prospective Rotary members, waiting to make a bigger impact in their community. But what Rotary Club exists for them? If any town creates new clubs at new times and new places, the hidden potential for Rotary will be revealed. As people of action, we must broaden our reach and provide opportunities to all leaders in the community. Together, all of us can grow Rotary.
Good. Everybody, can everybody sort of resonate with that video about your own town um, and some of the issues? I mean, I think some of the key words in there were basically flexibility, adapting, and change. And I think it's really, really important that we look at that when we start to look at. I know that we've had very successful clubs and growing membership, but it's also very important to make sure that we don't get ourselves locked into some of the old, traditional club approaches that we many of our clubs still adopt. So, okay, so before I get into the new club piece, I'm just going to talk a little bit about why we're doing this, and it's about membership. So, as we all know, Rotary is a membership organisation that does service. The more members we have, the more service we can do, the more funds we can raise for the Rotary Foundation, which is obviously sorry, sorry. Uh, so let me give you some facts over the last few years. Does everybody know our zone? Our zone is made up of Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Islands. So over the last 5 years, our zone has lost 20% of our membership. So we're down to about 26,000 members. And it's interesting, over the last 5 years, we've added about 2,000 members, and you'd say, "Wow, that's great, 2,000 new Rotarians," but we're losing 4,500 members, so we have a net loss of 1,500, which has basically eroded our membership base, as I said before, down to 20%. The other stats that are also, and I think it's really important from a club perspective, we lose 10% of new members within 1 year of joining. And we also lose 50% of all our terminations are members that have only been in the club for 3 years. So there's a real issue, not only, when we talk about membership, we talk about attraction, bringing new members in, but there's a big issue in terms of retention of members, which is really, really important as well. So, however, the last year, as we've started to work on new clubs, we're starting to see things starting to change. So let me give you some stats again on what happened last year, 24-25. So in our zone, we actually created, and this is the first time in many, many years, we actually created 23 new clubs around the zone. We had 7 new Rotary clubs, 6 new Rotaract clubs, and 10 satellite clubs. And I'll talk a little bit more about satellite clubs in a minute, but of those 10 satellite clubs, 2 of those which I just mentioned were in our district. And those 2 satellite clubs have actually increased membership by 20 new members, so 10 in each of those satellite clubs. Any questions so far? I mean, this is an open if you've got a question. Any questions? Okay, so let's talk about new clubs.
I'll play the bike, tear around a bit on it.
So,
Maybe
if I
I
can
think
ask
someone's not on mute.
Get my bike
Yeah,
off
if
the
you can
back
just
of
pop
my
yourselves
car
on
and
mute,
a bit,
everyone.
maybe.
Thank you.
if I feel like it, go and see Zach and do his brakes.
So,
Lindsay, there is, and I'll reference some of those to you as well in terms of the information. So let's talk about new clubs. So Rotary has essentially 3 types of clubs. We have Rotary clubs, we have Rotaract clubs, and we have satellite clubs. And satellites are probably things that you want to know a little bit more of. But let's talk about some of the rules to establish those kind of clubs. So to establish a new Rotary Club, there's a new rule from the 1st of July 2025. So to set up a new Rotary Club, you need 15 members. It used to be 20 members, but so the hurdle rate has been lowered. So 15 members to start a new Rotary Club. For a Rotaract Club, you need a minimum of 12 new members. And from a Rotary Satellite Club, so this is the interesting thing, you only need 8 members. And for a Rotaract Satellite Club, you need 5. So when we talk about setting up a new club, we also need to think about the types of clubs that we can create. The meeting format. So many of your clubs, many of our clubs meet in person. A lot of our clubs now meet online through hybrid, both online, in person or online. So let me go through the types of clubs that we have. So the most dominant one, and you heard that in the video, was our traditional dinner-based club. So this is where we sit and have a meal on a regular night of the week. Well, it may not be a night, it might be a lunch or it might be a breakfast. We host a speaker. We talk about service projects. But as you heard in the video, there's many people that want to do service and volunteer, but they don't want to join dinner-based meetings. So we need to have more flexibility in the way, and a satellite club is one way to attract those kind of members, because they don't. A lot of satellites actually don't physically meet. They may have a coffee, or they may meet. They may come and meet online or whatever it happens to be. So let me talk about satellites in particular. So why, when we start a satellite club, what are the common reasons for creating a satellite? It's easy because you only need 8 members. It offers flexibility. You can meet at different times or locations, like I mentioned. It's not about the meeting. And this is what, to me now, and I've seen this and I've been guilty of this as well, is you see a potential new member and the first thing you ask them about is, do you want to come to our meeting? I mean, it's not about, we have a meeting culture, and I think we need to start talking about what we do as a service-based organisation rather than, the time we meet and, are you available on a Monday or a Tuesday? I think we need to get meetings out of our vocabulary and actually focus on what we're on about, which is basically the service element. So let me just talk about satellite clubs. So satellite clubs, again, typically offer a different club experience. And you'll hear Leanne talk a little bit about this later, is that members don't necessarily enjoy their current experience. So in a satellite club, you can actually create a different club culture. For every satellite club, you have to have a host club. So a host club is your Rotary Club, for example. So you become the host club. The host club does a lot of things that the satellite club doesn't have to worry about. So they in terms of overheads and admin, that's done pretty much by the running of the standard club. The host club looks after things like insurance. They're obviously got the incorporation, because they're obviously incorporated, and they also run the governance of the club as well. For those that have looked at their current club constitutions now, the current constitution includes satellites as part of the constitution. So you'll see satellites in a constitution and obviously in some of the bylaws as well. So in the old days, a satellite club was set up to grow into a Rotary Club. So once a satellite club starting at about 8 members went to 20 or now 15, it would then charter to become a full Rotary Club. those days are gone. Satellite clubs now are quite happy to remain within the structure of a host club. And you'll find that, in fact, we interpose a satellite club with a companion club. Actually, I actually like the term companion club because they're a companion of the host club. The structure of a satellite club, you have to have a chair. So we don't have a president of a satellite club. You have a chair. The chair sits on the board of the host club. The satellite also would have a treasurer and a secretary. They may have other roles as well, but it's typically the chair that sits on the host board. The host club typically has the final say in all matters associated with the club, which includes the satellite. The satellite club typically has their own, so they're created for their own reasons, and they may have their own clear value proposition from the sponsor. So they may be a different demographic, for example. They may be focused on delivering specific types of service or cause-based. So today there's many people that are interested in volunteering, but they want to volunteer to help homelessness or the environment. Now, they're all the 7 elements of Rotary, but a satellite club can focus on one particular cause base, and that would become their major value proposition. You could also have a satellite based on an interest or activity. There's satellite clubs that have been created, especially some of the younger members in satellite clubs are interested in professional development. So they have an activity-based satellite club. You can have corporate-based satellite clubs. So in Queensland, there is a lot of small companies that are in the one building that belong to a satellite club. So again, the aim there is to get back to the communities that they work in. They're very popular in the UK as well. You can have alumni-based satellite clubs. So former Rotary programs such as RYLA. RYLA is a great example of getting a Rotaract satellite club or even a Rotaract club up. They could be language-based. They could be... So we've got some international project-based satellites. For example, modern slavery. There's a modern slavery e-club, which is a global e-club, satellite club around the world. Let me give you some examples just to give you some ideas. So these are some satellites and clubs that have been created in our zone in the last year or so. So we have the Rotary E-Club. So everybody knows what an E-Club is. We actually have one E-Club in our zone. The beauty of an E-Club is they have no geographic boundaries. So if you want to create an E-Club, you potentially have a membership base depending on what your interest is. It could be all over Australia or it could be all over the world. So there's a Rotary E-Club of Change Makers. That's their name. They have a passion for community service and friendship. There is the Rotary Club of Auckland Korean, which is a cultural inclusion club. So what they're looking at is there is obviously a large contingent of Korean people living in New Zealand, and to support them, they've created an Auckland Korean cultural inclusion club. There is a Rotary Satellite Club of Baldwin Blue, and that's a partnership with the Victorian Police. So this is retired police. So it gives purpose and identity for retired police, and it focuses on hands-on service. Up in Queensland, there's a Rotary Satellite Club of Hervey Bay, which focuses on homelessness. So it's a cause-based satellite. There's a Rotary Club of Suva Central, Fiji and Timor-Leste, so both emerging countries. So they're working together. Queensland, again, they have a Rotary E-Club of Empowering Women and Girls. That club chartered last year, and they already have 200 members from around Australia. And they're doing some great work with women and girls cause-based activities. There's another one here in Melbourne, Rotary E-Club of Melbourne, Manila, another cultural inclusion club for the Filipino community. A great club, again, it seems to be a lot in Queensland. This is a fabulous club. It's a Rotary club. This is not a satellite. The Rotary Club of Southeast Queensland. It's wildlife protection. So it's all about protecting wildlife in the bush, and they have a huge following, and they're growing in other parts of Australia as well. And finally, another one that I was the Music Makers Satellite Club, people interested in music as well. Just to give you some context, in our district, we've actually got a good funnel of potential new clubs. Now, we're working on, so there's a few satellite opportunities. So we're working on some cultural inclusion clubs, especially we have large communities of Indian and Sri Lankan people. So a great demographic that we're looking at some potential for some cultural inclusion clubs. We're looking at some new geographic clubs. We don't, as Cardinia is growing, we're looking at clubs in places. We don't have any Rotary clubs or Rotaract clubs in Officer, Clyde North. So we're looking at potentially growing clubs there. We have a real interest in getting Rotary clubs into community lifestyle villages. So as people move into these community lifestyle villages, we're looking at piloting some Rotary clubs there. We're working on a couple of Rotaract clubs. We've got 2 potential Rotaract clubs, one on the Bass Coast down at Phillip Island, and we've got another one in the Dandenong Hills as well. And we've got a number of cause-based clubs that I'd be happy to share with you as well. Giving you a lot of information. Has anybody got any questions or?
There's a question in the chat from Catherine.
Yep.
Saying creating a satellite Rotaract club from 5 people. Does that mean a satellite from a regular Rotaract, or can it be formed directly from a Rotary club?
No, that's a very good question, Catherine, because the host club for a Rotaract satellite has to be hosted by a Rotaract club. So that's the rule. So a satellite Rotary club would have to have a host Rotary club, but a Rotaract club would have to have would have to host Rotaract club as well. So
Thanks, Colin.
thanks, Catherine. But it's really good. We actually thought about creating some Rotaract clubs, but at the moment we've got 4 Rotaract clubs in our district. They've got a lot on their plates. We've got one down on the Bass Coast. We're probably looking at creating a full-blown Rotaract club rather than a satellite Rotaract club. So a Rotaract club. So any other questions?
Question from Marie. Yeah, Marie's got a question or a comment there. Yeah,
Marie.
Hi, Colin. I've been doing Dorothy Dixer questions today, so it could be another one.
Yep.
This is a question on behalf of our satellite club. If they reach a larger number of members, such as 15 to 20, do they have to become a fully fledged club, or can they remain a companion to their host club? Because I think our group would say they want to stay with us.
Yep.
So that may be an easy answer. And the second question is, can a club have more than one satellite?
I'll do the first question first because that's a relatively easy one. So in the old days, satellite clubs were set up as basically startups for a Rotary club. And that was the idea, that they would grow, get their full number, 20 or 15 it is now, and then they would go off and become a Rotary club. But today it's changed. Satellite clubs, like the fact that they can be cause-based, they can leverage off the host club, they can attend the host club meetings as well. They typically don't have to. And now, in fact, in some of the bylaws that I've seen, and this is what we call, in the US, they call them companion clubs. A companion club has within their charter that they don't want to actually charter as a full-blown Rotary club. So we have the flexibility. Typically, our Rotaract clubs are happy the way they are. They've got, they get all of the benefits and value of having the host club helping them, but they go off and do their own work, and they typically have a slightly different culture. They have a different way of running their operation and stuff like that. So the answer to that is they don't have to. They can basically stay as a satellite club. The answer to your second question is I don't see a reason why you can't have. I haven't seen any. There's no rule. I don't think that you can have more than. I think you can have more than one satellite club, but it could be another cause base that you want to create. But I'm happy to follow that up and just double check as well. Okay. Thanks, Marie. I saw another question about fees, because fees always comes. I've always talked about, a satellite club, so it must be cheaper than a Rotary club. No, it's the same. Unfortunately, it's the same cost as your host club. So if a host club is charging, I don't know, $250, then the only difference is the saving is in probably the meal cost. Because some clubs, you've got to have a meal and the meal costs whatever it costs, $40 or whatever it is. The satellite club can basically have a coffee and whatever. So, yep. I covered all the questions there so far.
I haven't got the use of a hand up.
Sorry.
Colin, but just as an offside, a lot of clubs suffer with membership and people attending, and we recently had to change our meeting date or day from Thursday to Tuesday. And my question is, if a Rotary club starts to suffer, and our club may be like others where, someone's inducted, might see them once or twice a year and they want to pay a membership fee and don't turn up. To me, that's a bit of a useless member. I'm wondering, is there anything in the rules that a club like ours that want to change to a satellite club can automatically just, without handing in the charter, go from a meeting club to, say, a satellite club without a host club?
No, you need a host club. But there's no reason why you can't, and this is what I talked about before, is about your club model. You can change that to adapt to become a cause-based. You don't have to be you can be a cause-based Rotary club. And in fact, I've been working with the E-Club up in Gippsland, and they've lost their way a little bit, and I'm helping them, their board, looking at creating some cause-based that are relevant in Gippsland that would attract potentially more members and online members in that case. So yeah, so it is flexible. So yeah.
Top.
Good. Okay, I'm going to So I think I've got 15 minutes. I'm going to ask, is Leanne on the call?
I'm here.
Oh, sorry, Leanne.
Yeah, that's all right. I couldn't unmute then.
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to go through. We're going to do I've got a few questions to ask Leanne. So some of these questions may be of interest to you in terms of you setting up a satellite club. So I'm just going to go. So Leanne, so what's the name of your satellite club? Because this is really important, because a satellite club can have their own unique club name, but it also has to be prefaced. It has to be called the satellite club of the host club, and then you can have your own satellite name.
Yeah.
So your name is?
Yep. So we're the satellite club of Greater Dandenong and Endeavour Hills, and we are Impact Collective.
And why did you call yourself Impact Collective?
Because everybody that was interested in joining the satellite club had amazing ideas on different projects and lots of passions. So initially I thought of a companion club or a cause-based club, but we had such a great group of people who wanted to do several different things, and we can actually make that work. So everybody, is really keen and enthusiastic on getting things moving.
So, Leanne, the sponsor club, is it a traditional club in the sense of dinner meetings on a certain day, time, venue with speakers?
Yes, it is. We are, sorry, everybody, we are an old man's dinner club.
I'm one
And
of the old men.
no, you're one of them. Yep. No, it is a traditional club where people come for dinner, and sadly, at times, people are complaining about their dinner, and we're not as active as what we should be. And people, I found myself, I didn't have a voice in our club. In a male-dominated club, sometimes the female voice is not listened to. So that was a bit of a pity.
So did you have any current members of the host club move over to
We
the
did.
satellite?
Yep.
And why did they do that?
Okay. We had 5 members move across. I was one of them. And it was due to poor club experience, and we didn't feel supported by the incoming board at the time. So we knew that we were not going to be happy under that particular leadership. So we decided to, break away. But our satellite club members are still, we do visit regular club meetings as well.
And what was if they didn't move over to the satellite club, what were some of the members willing to do? What were they thinking?
They were actually going to leave. They had already been looking at other clubs. And so we were under threat of losing 5 members. So I only needed to find 3 more to save, basically to save our club, because I think it was in dire straits if 5 people had left.
So where did you get your help in setting up the satellite club?
That was tricky. I contacted Marie McPherson many times. So Marie and Lacey were unbelievably supportive and helpful. So that's where I got most of my information. And then also trying to contact Andrew Best and get some info out of him. So naming and that sort of thing was difficult, but Marie and Lacey, the model they had was just brilliant, and a success.
And what's the leadership structure of your satellite?
We have a chair and a secretary, but everybody in this particular club has a voice and is listened to. So and as the chair, I sit on the board of the host club as well.
And you're also president-elect.
And I'm president-elect, and they asked me, how can that be? And that's because I had already identified co-chairs actually for the satellite club in the new Rotary year.
So was setting it up a difficult process, and how long did it take from your idea to chartering?
It took 2 to 3 months for that to happen. So the ideas were free flowing, but then it was the hold-ups with RISPO. Is it RISPO? Yeah, and naming rights and that sort of thing. So there were lots of emails going back and forth between myself and Andrew Best, trying to figure out what we could actually use as a name for our club. So that was the biggest hold-up.
So do you think your satellite club will eventually want to become an independent Rotary club, or prefer to remain a satellite club?
I think we'd much rather remain as a satellite club because of the flexibility.
So can I talk, when we talk about diversity, how diverse is the host club?
The host club is not all that diverse, really. We're in an unfortunate period of time in our club where we've lost a lot of our contacts, and we used to be very diverse, but unfortunately a lot of that diversity is lapsed, and we're not representative of the Greater Dandenong community. So, but if I move on to, but the Satellite Club is much more representative of our, even though we've only got 11 members, they're from diverse backgrounds, different nationalities. And
There's a question
Yeah.
here, Leanne. Are there any males in your club?
yes, we're 50-50, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And the main club is
Is
99-1.
me. Well, only because I'm the chair of the Satellite Club.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I've got a
lots
bit of
of
inside
males
knowledge
and-
here too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any other? So I've asked all my questions, Leanne. Has anybody else got any questions of
There's a
Leanne? You can open
question
your
there.
microphones.
There's a question there from Gabby, which Marie has answered for her club. Does a Satellite Club have its own bank account?
We don't. We have the money is banked into the host club. So yeah, we don't have our own bank account. And any fundraising, I am able to. I've got access to the bank account, so that I can see that the money is in the right spot or being transferred out if necessary to the right place.
It's an interesting question. I mean, I think theoretically a satellite could have a bank account,
It would
but
be
it would
good.
still be under, it would still be in the same banking group, obviously, as the host club, because the satellite can have a treasurer. So the treasurer, basically, if they do fundraising and things like that, or it could be, categorized as part of the, obviously the fundraising activity of the main account.
Could I ask a question of Leanne again? It's Chris Hansen. I'm sorry I can't get my ugly mush up on the screen. Leanne, you've come from a club where you've said that the aged membership could be the problem. I'll give you an example. At our club, we've probably got about 32 on the books.
Yep.
In about another 2 months' time, we'll have 2 members who have reached the age of 100.
Well, yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I joined 44 years ago. I'm 74, and I think I'm still one of the youngest in our Rotary Club. The age problem of people hanging around in Rotary and not contributing is a problem. Was that part of the problem that you saw to move and form a satellite club?
Yeah, it wasn't so much that, even though I was a bit mean and said, I'm in an old man's club. We have some fantastic members, but certainly aging. But the benefit of the Satellite Club is with the flexibility and diversity, we're attracting younger members. So, so we're also diverse in age, which is really good. So there's, we have a succession plan with people moving through the leadership, and so that works really well, and it is more attractive. We just meet over coffee at times. Satellite members are invited to our club meetings as well. So if there are really good guest speakers or an important event, they'll also attend those. So there's a lot more flexibility.
And it's a good place to attract younger members, which we need.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You raise a really good point, because one of the reasons why satellite clubs, I think they would attract younger people to join, because they can design a club that fits their needs and schedule as well. I mean, we're sort of, we're sort of adapting our satellite to fit our host club. But if you really wanted to, if you had a group of individuals, younger people that have got a cause, which a lot of young people do, you could basically offer them to build under the rules, obviously, of a satellite club, but they could go and create one. And I think the average age in satellite clubs is a lot less than your traditional Rotary club. So, sorry, Marie's got, our satellite club is currently all women, unintentional, and it brought our club gender ratio to 50-50 for the first time in our 40+ year history.
Yeah.
Oh, Leanne, there's another one here. Peter Simcock from Traralgon Central. Do you think that there are any dangers in a more traditional meeting-based club trying to become more flexible, or does it risk losing members?
Look, I think that, for instance, our club, even though I haven't been very positive about it and I'm keen to step in as president, I think if we can certainly change to become much more attractive to other people as well and much more diverse. So unfortunately, we lost contact with a lot of our community leaders and there hasn't been a lot of work done in that space. So, and there's not a whole lot of teamwork, if you like, in our club at the moment. So we still, to sit in one of our club meetings, for me, is not very enjoyable because I know that I'm not going to be listened to, or I'm just, a pain in the butt. And I've gone off on a tangent and set up this satellite club. But to sit around a table with satellite members is really great. We use the boardroom at the Dandenong Club, so we sit around the table and we go around to each person, asking them for their input. So if I can then bring that back to the host club, I think it will start to flourish again, and we will attract more members that way. So I don't think there's a danger of us losing our club at the moment, but I could see that. For instance, if we had the current leadership still in place, there is a huge issue of maybe losing our club.
And it's an interesting point you raise, because every member has a percentage that are active members, that the ones that are actually doing the work, doing the service and stuff, and that's probably 40 to 50%. And the rest, are there, for fellowship, which is fantastic, but it's the active membership that we really want to, and that with a satellite club, you can actually create active members from day one if you have the right cause or the right interest base that you're going to create. So,
can I just add to, please, that in the satellite club, all our members feel valued, and that's something. And I know that there are a lot of clubs where members do feel valued, but that wasn't the feeling in our club. So if we can recreate that and make everybody feel welcome, if you walk in the door and people are friendly, welcoming, then you're going to be much more attractive to new people coming in.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of time. So if anybody, hopefully this has just opened some ideas and whatever. If you want to follow up, please feel free to contact myself, Leanne. I'm also talking, hopefully Marie would. We want to get more, we want to grow Rotary. That's the number one priority in Rotary. We've got to grow Rotary. And this is a way, and I think it's a way we can actually attract younger members as well.
Mark, did you have a question from Mount Martha still? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Sorry, Mark.
Sorry about that. As a new member, I've only been here 3 years, and it's interesting, these conversations, because I've been one of the members who I'm very, very heavily involved. I'm president nominee for 2 years' time, which has been fantastic in such a short period of time. I'm also constantly thinking, gosh, is Rotary for me? Like, it's one of those things. I love giving back to the community. I'm involved with the Ranch Homeless. I do things for Fusion. I do the barbecues, blah, 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 blah. But I'm also torn because, and the club I'm with is fantastic. I'm with Mount Martha, with Peter Rawlings and Anne Shaw, and they are just the most amazing leaders and they are phenomenal. But I'm also torn that it's the wrong time for me at the wrong place. And then I do things like the Ranch, where I'm doing things at the moment with Ross Kilbourne and other sort of people, and that group's been fantastic. We do things at the Ranch. Again, it's a project which we're working on. And I see there's a potential there for Friends of Rotary, where they may not be, because again, the cost is a big thing. I don't, my partner's with RDA. She doesn't pay anything. She's a volunteer. And she goes, gosh, how can you pay to be a volunteer? This is almost seems crazy. So I'm sort of torn with it all, and I understand the power of Rotary. The Rotary is just such a powerful organisation. So I sort of question it both ways. But I think it's one of those things for new members. It's a question which I think goes around. If you're trying to find younger members, why pay to be part of a Rotary club when you can be something else? And there are so many people looking for volunteers. It's a really difficult question. I just don't know what the answer is, other than I've discussed it with people on a weekly basis from all clubs. The only thing I was saying is about the the satellite clubs is I find that working with obviously Ross with Mornington, and when they've got Mornington, they've got Mount Eliza involved, we've got Frankston, Dramana, we're all doing this ranch project, which has been a really big and a really powerful uniting project, I think, for me as well, outside of my own club. We've found something, a common goal, which I think needs to happen more often, more of those project focused things, which are,
I think, Marky, we need to collaborate. Clubs need to work together.
Yes.
We work as islands a lot of times. We're all doing, 7 of us are doing the same project. I mean, it's like, this is crazy stuff. We need to, we need to come together, and that's the whole idea of these community groups that we've formed. Peninsula does a great job. The homelessness and all that. Those you've done some great projects, but we've got to get clubs. Some of them are only like the next town. The next suburb. We've got to start to work together. So, and we need to collaborate more. So, yeah, totally.
I mean, the one thing which I've been thinking about a lot on my build-up, so is to try and pull tradies together to help on these sort of projects.
Yep.
And again, my thought is, okay, how do you get them involved? And would a tradie then pay $350 to be part of a project to help on something? But the power of getting tradies to help on some of these projects is huge. But again, it's that conundrum of cost, and that's not a big cost, but it's that cost versus I just want to help. So I don't know how we can do that, whether there's a possibility, but it's difficult to have that Friends of Rotary without being a full Rotarian in due course.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Can I just pop in there? Can you hear me, Colin?
Yeah, sure, Joanne.
Yeah, hi. And hi, Mark, from
Hey,
Mornington.
how are you going?
Yeah, good to see you.
Sounds
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying about the ranch project in particular. We've started something very, very casual. It's not really a satellite club, but it's just, we've got about 8 or 10 people on a volunteer list. So we're calling it Friends of Rotary. And I think Mount Eliza might be doing something similar, maybe Frankston. But it's where people want to help. They don't want to come to meetings. They don't want to be joining as members, but they want to help, I don't know, once or twice or 3 times a year, whatever, whether it's a barbecue, whether it's the ranch, whether it's our art show, whatever it is. But they're a little unwilling to make a commitment. And I kind of get that because people are time poor. But I figure it's a way of getting, it sounds a bit awful and cynical, but it kind of gets their foot in the door. And if they can come along to a couple of things where they're in the community, they're doing tree planting, whatever it is, then they can see the collaboration at work. Then they can think, well, maybe I can do a little bit more of this. So we're just trying a little softly approach. And it's not, I don't even know if it would be as structured as a satellite, because that, again, means being in a group. I think these people are happy to just help when they can for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours a week at something, or over a month, whatever it is. So we're going to trial that, but I probably need to talk to you, Colin, about their insurance cover and whether they pay membership. They're things
in fact, there's a lot of clubs with Friends of Rotary, and I've actually got a list of things that Friends. And the good thing about it, Frankston Peninsula had a group of these, so they had about 16 of them. And they all joined 2 years ago into Rotary. They actually then, so they grew their numbers 6 by 16. But
exactly,
lots of clubs have Friends of Rotary, and I think it's a great stepping stone to get them potentially interested in becoming a member. But just their resources is very valuable. So yeah,
sure, thank you.
No worries. Thanks, Joanne. I think we're well over time. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, that wasn't you.
No, that's amazing. Thank you. And I think that's been an excellent discussion.